Scripture does use a lot of imagery of war, but we have to remember too that we live in a rather unique era of history. Most of the eras of history have been very violent. If you look at ancient history and the clash of empires, sometimes when an empire was defeated, it was obliterated. Entire peoples were obliterated. Entire cultures were extinguished. So it was a natural belief to believe that if you lost a war, not only your nation would cease to exist, but people would be scattered here and there and sold into slavery, and you would cease to exist as a culture. And this was characteristic of much of the world. It's really Christianity in the West that brought some semblance of the need for order and the necessity to live at peace. And certainly it hasn't been a smooth line or anything that's achieved great lasting success even in the West. But there is a lot of imagery in Scripture of the reality of human existence, because man, when he believes he's a god, and that was the ultimate temptation in Genesis 3, if man believes he's a god, he believes he can do anything. And ultimately, the easiest way he finds to do that is through violence. And so history has been very violent. But ultimately, what God is saying in those illustrations of violence, God describes himself as using that violence to ultimately achieve his own purposes. And ultimately, what we see history moving to in Scripture is peace and a universal faith and a kingdom that ends in total peace because it's subject to God and his Christ.